In this video, we're going to talk about how to calculate a 5-number summary by hand for a set of data. So I have this set of data here that we'll be working with, and a 5-number summary is essentially a summary of 5 numbers that describe your data. So the 5 numbers that we're going to be finding are the minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and the maximum. Okay, so the minimum and maximum, those ones are easy to just skim through our data and find. We can see that the minimum is 1, the smallest number in our data set. The maximum is 14, the largest number in our data set. For the other ones, Q1, median, and Q3, we have to divide up our data into what we call quartiles. So when you think of quartiles, think of dividing up your data into quarters or dividing it up into fourths. So if you imagine let's draw a little diagram here. Imagine a rectangle, some rectangular object, and I want to divide it up into 4 equally sized sections, which are what quartiles are. We're dividing up the data into 4 equally sized sections. Or in other words, we're dividing it up into 4 sections so that each section has the same number of data points in it. So if I wanted to do that with an object, maybe a piece of paper or something, if I wanted to divide up into 4 equally sized pieces, I would first just divide it in half, and then I would take each half and divide that in half. So that's essentially what I'm going to do with my data. So I'm going to first try to divide it in half, and the way that I'm going to do that is by finding the median. Okay, so if I look here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11 numbers in my data set, which means that if I take 11 divided by 2, 5.5, that means that there's going to be 5 numbers on each side of my median. So if I just count from one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this 8 here in the middle has 5 numbers on each side of it, so that is the median of the data. So if I drew a line, it would be like I was cutting my data in half. Now I have 2 sections, and they each have 5 data points in them. Okay, so that's my median, 8. To find Q1, I want to keep dividing up my data. I need to divide it up into 4 sections that all have the same number of data points in them. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these 2 halves and I'm going to divide them in half. So I'll look at just this first half of the data and I'll find the median of just these first 5 numbers, and that's going to give me Q1. So there's 5 numbers over here. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, or 5 divided in half is 2.5, which means that there's going to be 2 numbers on each side of my median, which means that the median of this first half of the data has to be 3. Okay, so I was just looking at 1, 1, 3, 4, 6, just those 5 numbers, and trying to find the median of just those 5 numbers. And something to note here is that this data was already given to us in order from least to greatest, but if it wasn't, you would have to make sure that you ordered your data from least to greatest before starting this. So then so that's Q1. Q1 is 3. So let me start writing in what we have so far. Okay, the minimum is 1. Q1 is 3. The median is 8. The maximum is 14. So then to find Q3, basically what I've done so far is I divided my data in half at the 8, and then I looked at the first half of the data and I divided that in half and found the 3. So now I'm going to look at the upper half of my data and divide that in half. Okay, so there's 5 numbers, which means there will be 2 on each side of our median. So the median of the upper half of the data is going to be 12. All right, so if you notice here, now I have my data divided up into these 4 different sections, and they all have 2 data points in them. And the numbers that I circled are kind of like these dividing points. They're like the walls where I divide up the data. So that Q3, that's the median of the upper half of the data. So just looking at 9, 10, 12, 14, 14, just looking at those top 5 numbers, what was the median of that top half of the data? Which was 12. All right, so this would be our 5-number summary. The minimum of the data is 1. Q1 is 3. Sometimes you'll also see this called, instead of Q1, you might also see this called the lower quartile. And then for Q3, sometimes you'll see that referred to as the upper quartile. So just so you know, those are synonyms. Q1 is synonymous with lower quartile. Q3 synonymous with upper quartile. Okay. So yeah, our 5-number summary. 1 is the minimum, Q1 is 3, median is 8, Q3 is 12, max is 14. So this would be our 5-number summary. Okay, so that is our video on how to find a 5-number summary. If you'd like a more in-depth video on finding medians, go ahead and let me know in the comments.